Today, I'm going to be 100% completing LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, and it just might be the most scuffed LEGO game I've ever played in my life. When TT Games originally announced The Skywalker Saga, I was super hyped for a new LEGO Star Wars game, which had been some of my favorite, if not my favorite games from my childhood. When it was released in April of 2022, I downloaded it on my PlayStation 4 immediately, and it was kind of filled with visual glitches and bugs. So after about a week and maybe 15 to 20 hours in the game, I put it down and I haven't touched it since. Until now, because I decided that since it's 2025, I should kick off the new year with a game I could relax with and have fun. Of course, that didn't end up actually being the case, but, we'll get there. If you've never seen one of these videos, I'll let you in on what I do here. My name is the Mr. Bison, and this is a series called The 100, where I intend to 100% complete 100 different games, hence the name The 100. And in order to complete the Skywalker Saga, we're going to have to lay out some completion requirements. The first of which being completing the story mode. Next we will have to complete all of the level challenges, then we will have to collect all of the collectibles, which I will group all into one category, and finally we will have to collect all the Steam achievements. With that being said, we have no time to lose, so let's get started. I decided I would start by playing the game all the way through in story mode to unlock as many story-relevant characters as possible and collect as many studs as I could early on so I wouldn't have to worry about them so much later. Of course, I started off in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, because I don't know why you would start with anything else. I can't spend too long on each episode individually or this video is going to take forever, so we're going to move kind of fast through this portion. I was disappointed that the negotiations level from the Complete Saga was taken out of the game in favor of having the first level be a bigger fish, which could have just been a cutscene, to be honest. I really liked the negotiations level, probably just for nostalgia, but in this game it was just kind of running through the Trade Federation battleship instead of actually being a level. And unfortunately for this game, it's kind of a running theme that all the levels that people are nostalgic for have been replaced with just kind of running through their select location. What really saves Phantom Menace is the fact that the pod racing level and the Darth Maul fight are both in Phantom Menace, which are two of my favorite Star Wars things, period, so that helps a lot. And as you can see up in the corner now, I'm going to put a little achievement counter and I'll flash the achievements up on screen that we got within each episode so that we don't have to go over each one individually because that'll take all day. Now, in terms of Episode 2, I don't have too much to say. I'm sure you understand most people's feelings on the movie Episode 2. Most people really don't like it.
I don't like sand.
However, we do gain access to my favorite minifigure from my childhood, which is Episode 2 Obi-Wan. And I hate the Wrestle with Wessel vehicle level. That one sucks. I think it's probably my least favorite level in the game, to be honest with you. And other than that, I don't have much in my notes other than that, I guess I tried Flan for the first time while I was playing through it. I wrote that it was, quote, pretty good. So, yeah. Moving on to Revenge of the Sith, which is in constant battle with Empire Strikes Back for my favorite movie in the franchise. Apparently, the only things that I felt were good enough to write down for my notes in this section were that I sent a Wookiee flying in Kashyyyk, and I got 1 million studs to unlock the 2x stud multiplier. All jokes aside, Revenge of the Sith was one of my favorite games to play through. I really liked all the levels in it. I can't remember anything that I specifically didn't like about it. And, of course, the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight is always awesome, regardless of the context. As far as Episode 4 goes, my feelings on the game are fairly similar to my thoughts on the movie. I honestly don't have that much to say about it. It's good, and I like it. It's just never been my favorite, for whatever reason. Now, that's not to say there's anything that I necessarily don't like about it, because that's honestly not really the case. For some reason, the levels in Episode 4 felt kind of short, but I don't necessarily hold that against it. It did do a good job of, playing the scenes from the movies that were important, so I don't have a problem with it. It's just the fact that it's surrounded by such good movies and levels that just doesn't stack up. Alright, cream of the crop. The Empire Strikes Back was easily my favorite so far. The levels were awesome. It was a good mix of vehicle levels and character levels. The first level in it was a nice change of pace. You're in this kind of open Hoth area with Han, and it's pretty cool. There's also the level where you knock over the AT-ATs, which is super cool. I think it's done a lot better than it was in the Complete Saga, to be totally honest. This one I kind of like quite a lot. Episode 5 just has it all. It's got good character levels, it's got good vehicle levels, it's got good pacing, it's got good cutscenes, it's got everything that you want it to have, and it's probably the best of all the episodes. As far as episode 6 goes, I pretty much liked all of it, with exception of the speeder bike level on Endor, but I feel like nobody really likes that one, so it's okay. In terms of my notes, I wrote, I like Wookiee and fun. I'm going to assume that I meant Ewok and not Wookiee, but, I mean, it was fun. I did think the section with Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt on the ships were really cool. Those parts are always really cool. And also, of course, the ending sequence where you fight Palpatine with Vader and Luke is super awesome, per usual. And now that we're finally done with the movies, we can move on to Galaxy Free Play. What? Oh, the sequels. Yeah, I guess I do probably have to talk about the sequels, don't I? Anyways, much like the movies, I have my issues with the levels from the sequel trilogy, but you can really only make a level so bad using the LEGO formula. And so, even though they were not exactly captivating, the levels were all at least playable. I also felt like while playing through it, they had like an abnormally large amount of boss fights, which I think looking back might have just been because I was rushing. I honestly think that the worst part about playing through the sequel levels are just that it reminded me that the movies exist. And now, at this point, I apologize if you are really looking forward to the sequel segment of this video, but we're going to move on to Galaxy Freeplay. Galaxy Freeplay is a whole nother can of worms. And don't get me wrong, I like collectathons as much as the next guy, and I can't wait to do a game like Yooka-Laylee or Psychonauts for this series. Those games are very traditional collectathons. You go around all these different areas, collect all the collectibles, and that's great. I like that. Not everybody does like that, but that type of game I enjoy. The big difference with the Skywalker Saga is that those games probably have a few hundred collectibles each, maybe not even that many. The Skywalker Saga has over 1,600 collectibles, and the worst part is you obtain them all in like one of 4 ways. Of course, there are the ones that you get from completing levels and that kind of thing. But other than that, generally, if you're in Galaxy Freeplay on a planet trying to collect a collectible, you are either climbing, platforming, very simple platforming, mind you, or pressing buttons or activating switches, right? Or there's also some combination of the 3. Of course, there are some exceptions. This game does have a few fun puzzles sprinkled in, but I would say about 80% of the open world collectibles are collected like this. And now that I've explained how the open world works, that's pretty much it, honestly. Unfortunately, it's very basic and repetitive outside of the admittedly very nice looking planets. To be totally honest with you, if you took the Star Wars coat of paint off of everything and you took the gameplay and plugged it into a completely separate IP, I'm not totally sure that I would even really enjoy the game all that much. And that's before I've even mentioned how incredibly scuffed the game can be in several aspects. Between visual glitches, areas not loading, and collectibles just not being where they should be, it can be really, really hard to motivate yourself to actually keep going a lot of the time, to be honest. I remember a specific side mission I did on Endor where I restarted the game, closed it and reopened it fully 7 times because the enemies that I needed to kill to complete the mission, that was the entire mission. All I needed to do was kill 9 guys on Endor, and they just wouldn't load in for some reason. They just wouldn't show up, and I had to reload the game 7 times. That's ridiculous. And believe me, I understand that now more than ever, dev teams are rushed to get games out, and more games release unfinished, and I know the Skywalker Saga used to be worse than it is now, but it was released almost 3 years ago at this point. These issues should be fixed, completely. So, after quite a few hours of messing around in Galaxy Freeplay, I had managed to 100% complete 11 planets, and it probably took me, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 hours, something like that. But I was sick of it. I was completely sick of it at this point, so I decided that I was going to go through and 100% complete all of the story levels, get all the mini-kits, get all the challenges. So that's what I did next. When it came to doing all the levels a second time around, most of them were pretty okay, actually. Certain levels of the story kind of dragged on, but I generally liked replaying most of them. Even some of the sequel levels. This is mostly because of the levels don't make you play through the entire level to get all the challenges and mini-kits, and if they do make you play through the whole thing, there's usually a much faster way to get to each section of the level than you would typically be able to use in story mode, which was pretty nice. The only problem that I really ran into while replaying story levels, ironically, was on Endor again. I don't know why Endor just doesn't work in this game, but there was a level that I played on Endor where every time that I would start the level, I would take 2 or 3 steps and then it would just teleport me to like the very end of the level, so I couldn't collect any of the collectibles or challenges that I needed to along the way. But other than that, it was pretty much fine the whole way. And once we were done with all the levels, we got the achievements for collecting all the mini kits, completing challenges, and getting True Jedi on every level. Once I'd finished all the story levels, I decided that it was time to lock my ass in and get this game done with. And while flying around in space, I came across my first capital ship, which was honestly pretty cool. The ship that I came across was the Steadfast, and I honestly really like the idea of the capital ships in this game. A huge ship where you can explore the interior, unlock characters, and solve creative puzzles. It's pretty cool. And honestly, I do really like the change of pace between mindlessly grinding collectibles and finding a collectible on a ship instead of a planet. Which is exactly what I would say if the puzzles on the capital ships weren't even lazier than the ones on the planets. I mean, look at this. Look at these puzzles. I know it's a children's game, but like this could be solved by a freaking fetus. Like half of the puzzles on the capital ships boil down to break box or press single button. And there you go. There's your Kyber brick. Wow, good stuff. Good stuff, TT Games. Like, I don't know how they came up with these. With that being said, though, I still do really like the idea of the capital ships. They're all fairly unique. Being able to go onto the Death Star and the Invisible Hand and the Venator are all really cool ideas, and I like that they're in the game. They just could have been done, like, a whole lot better. So, at this point, now that I have discovered the capital ships, the only thing that's left for me to do is just go through and complete everything. I have to go through every planet and every capital ship and make sure that I have every single collectible, buy all the characters, do all of that. And, along the way, we're trying to get a few achievements that aren't necessarily, like, definitely going to happen. But there's really only one for creating disguises with hero characters. Everything else pretty much happens naturally, with the exception of just one that I'll talk about right at the end. So for the next, like, 25 hours-ish, I pretty much just spent going from planet to planet, collecting collectibles with these monotonous challenges over and over and over. And so needless to say, the game was kind of a slog from this point on, just collecting random bricks and characters who most of the time I don't even care about. Like, why in the world do I care about unlocking Psy Snoodles? Eventually, I did take a break from playing the game for like 2 days because I just couldn't handle it anymore. I had put like 60 hours into it in a week, which is fucking crazy. I just didn't want to play the game at all. But eventually I did come back, and I finally 100% completed all of the challenges, all of the Kyber bricks, all of the characters. I only had like 1 or 2 things left to do. Now, the very last thing that I had to do before I had officially completed the Skywalker Saga 100% through and through was figure out which creature in the galaxy I had not ridden, which I was so prepared to take me like a ridiculously long time because I was not keeping track. Luckily, I found it on like the 3rd try. It was on Jakku or something like that. So now that we have officially 100% completed the entire game, we've done everything that it has to offer, it has one last surprise for us. We can head to Yavin 4 and see what the 100% completion reward is. Now, I remember in the Complete Saga, there was a fountain, and when you got to 100% completion, it would just spew out studs. Which was kind of cool, but like it really wasn't much of a completion reward, especially when you literally don't need those studs for anything. And I sure hope that it's not just another infinite stud dispenser, especially when I have 40 billion studs right now. It's a goddamn infinite stud dispenser. Why? Literally for what reason? Like, what kind of 100% completion reward? It's like a slap in the face. It's like, oh my god, look at all these studs that you could have. Guess who doesn't need them? You. Did you like my foreshadowing, though? I bet you didn't see that coming. In all seriousness, though, now that we have officially 100% completed LEGO Star Wars The Running Simulator, the Skywalker Saga, we can finally get to giving this thing a ranking. Real quick, before we get to that, if you did make it this far in the video, I'm sure you liked something about it, so I would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button and join the herd. Also, if you could leave a comment about what games you'd like to see me complete and review in the future, that would be super helpful. I appreciate it, and let's get to the ranking. Okay, so taking into consideration everything that we've said over the course of this video, the final ranking of LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga will be a 71. And honestly, that's kind of high. Like, kind of higher than it should be. if it wasn't obvious throughout this video, I am a pretty big Star Wars fan, just in general. And I think if you took away the Star Wars and just gave me the gameplay, this game would probably get like a 56 or something. But the fact that it says Star Wars on it and has freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi and Yoda in it, like, makes it higher, makes it a 71. I would never complete this game again. I wouldn't encourage you to. I would encourage you to play the story. Honestly, the story was fun. I had a good time with the story. I would not encourage you, honestly, to go any farther than that. Play what you want. Enjoy the planets that you like. You know, try and find some capital ships. That's cool. It's fun. That's very enjoyable. Once you get past, like, the 20-25 hour mark, it sucks. It's not fun. I do not recommend it. Honestly, I really don't. Within completing this game, I collected 45 achievements, 380 characters, mostly filler, 123 ships, including capital and mini ships from the mini kits, 120 kyber bricks, which was a crazy slog, 225 mini kits, and 81 hours of total gameplay, but it felt like 200, I swear to God. Now that this whole thing is finally coming to an end, I can thank you for making this far in the video. I know it's shorter than what I'm normally making, but honestly, I didn't have all that much to say about a lot of this game, which is funny because it took me forever to complete it. But now I have to go wrangle a bunch of rabid elderly people. We're doing Stray in the next one. Hopefully I'll see you there. Bye-bye.